Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats now. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. And a very pleasant morning. Yang berbahagia, Datuk-datuk, Datin-datin, tuan-tuan, puan-puan, ladies and gentlemen, please stand for our national anthem, Negaraku. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a pleasant morning once again. Yang berhormat, Tuan M. Kulasegaran, Minister of Human Resources. Yang berhormat, Datuk Haji Mahfuz bin Haji Omar, Deputy Minister of Human Resources. Yang berbahagia, Datuk Amir bin Omar, Secretary General, Ministry of Human Resources. Yang berbahagia Tan Sri Rebecca Fatimah Star Maria, Chairperson of the HRDF Governance Oversight Committee. Yang berbahagia Datuk Kwa Ten Khan, Deputy Chairman, Board of Directors, HRDF. Yang berusaha Mr. J. Rasami Manikam, Member, Board of Directors, HRDF. Yang berusaha Mr. Elanjelian Venugopal, Chief Executive of HRDF. Members of the HRDF GOC, representatives of employer associations, representatives of training provider associations, registered employers, members of the media. We would like to invite Encik Afiq to recite a prayer before we begin this town hall session. Encik Afiq.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Hamdan hamidin, hamdan syakirin, hamdan yuafi ni'amahu wa yukafi'u mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karim wa azimi sultanik. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. In conjunction with the HRDF Town Hall, with employer associations and HRDF registered employers, with Minister of Human Resources, guide us among those whom you guide. Grant us the best outcomes in all of our affairs. Make our gathering here a blessed one, and our dispersion thereafter a guided and protected one. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, keep our hearts firm, unite us for the right solution, and provide us with full knowledge to tackle the human capital issues. Grant us the strength and the right effort to make the appropriate actions on strengthening the human resources of this beloved nation. Ya Fattah, Ya Alim, make us enjoy moderation, place us among the people of right behavior and the righteous servants. In you we have placed our trust, and to you do we turn in repentance, for unto you is the end of all journeys. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah, wa fil akhirati hasanah, wa qina adzaban nar. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
believe the Ministry of Human Resources can do a lot for the left out of people in this country, the P40 and below. That there is some signs of corruption everywhere, and therefore it is my humble duty to come and do what is needed by the nation at this juncture. I had announced the appointment of board of directors and members of the governance oversight committee. Today, out of 14 board members attended the meeting. Saya nak katakan ada 5 orang yang telah dilantik sebagai satu komiti oversight untuk merajui sedalam-dalamnya apakah perubahan atau cadangan yang perlu dibuat di HRDF. Di antaranya, nombor 1, Tan Sri Rebecca Fatima Santa Maria. Nombor 2, Puan Fiona So. Nombor 3, Encik Fahri Azad Peguam. Nombor 4, S. Damodran, accountant. Nombor 5, R. Nadeswaran.
Yang berbahagia Datuk-Datuk, Datin-Datin, Tuan-Tuan, Puan-Puan. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the HRDF Town Hall with employer associations and registered employers. My name is Audit Rahim, and I will be your moderator for today's Town Hall session. The purpose of this Town Hall is to disclose the findings of the HRDF Governance Oversight Committee, GOC, as well as to encourage positive feedback from invited stakeholders. All constructive comments and suggestions regarding the fund's policies, procedures, products, and services are welcomed. Before we begin, allow me to share some background on the HRDF GOC. The HRDF GOC was established on the 28th of June 2018. The mandate of the GOC is to assist the Ministry of Human Resources, the MOHR, on an interim basis to review all aspects of HRDF's governance framework to ensure that the HRDF Board of Directors function in an effective and efficient manner to support the operations of HRDF. The members of the GOC were appointed by the Human Resources Minister, Yang Berhormat Tuan M. Kulasegaran, and they are former Secretary General of the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Rebecca Fatima Santa Maria, the Chairperson of the GOC. Former Director with Ernst & Young Malaysia, Ms. Fiona So, Encik Fahri Azad, lawyer, Mr. Damodaran Munusamy, accountant, and Mr. R. Nadeswaran, journalist. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome our Town Hall panel members today. The Minister of Human Resources, Yang Berhormat Tuan M. Kulasegaran, Chairperson of the Board Governance Oversight Committee, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Rebecca Santa Maria, Deputy Chairman, HRDF Board of Directors, Yang Berbahagia Datuk Kuah Tien Khan, Member, HRDF Board of Directors, Yang Berusaha Mr. J. Rasami Manikam, and HRDF Chief Executive, Yang Berusaha Mr. Elanjarian Venugopal. Without further ado, I would like to invite Yang Berhormat Tuan M. Kulasegaran, Minister of Human Resources, to present his opening speech.
Moderator Encik Adib, Yang Berhormat Dato' Haji Mahfuz bin Haji Omar, Timbalan Menteri Sumber Manusia, Yang Berbahagia Dato' Amir bin Omar, Secretary General Ministry of Human Resources, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Rebecca Fatima Santa Maria. I always get it right, but today I've got it wrong. Chairperson Governance and Oversight Committee, HRDF, Yang Berbahagia Dato' Kuah Tien Khan, Deputy Chairman, Board of Directors, HRDF, Yang Berusaha Mr. J. Rasami Manikam, Member, Board of Directors, HRDF, Yang Berusaha Encik Elanjarian Venugopal, Chief Executive, HRDF. Members of the HRDF GOC, representatives of employers associations, representatives of training provider associations, registered employers, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. When I addressed the first HRDF town hall at the end of May 2018, there was an upheaval, mostly from training providers. I got my officers to record their grievances, and I gave an undertaking that there will be a total transparency in all undertakings. I will continue to emphasize that this government was elected on the premise of being accountable to the people. Hence, from now on, everything will be transparent and above board. I assure you that the new work culture in HRDF will ensure prompt attention to your needs, complaints, and respond to your queries. All of you are aware the HRDF Governance Oversight Committee, or GOC for short, was set up on June 28, consisting of 5 prominent people. Heading was Tantri Rebecca as chairperson. On the appointment on July 2000 and July the 6th, I was asked, what do you want? What do you want the report? At that time, it was fashionable to say, I said the report will be ready within 100 days, like the Pakatan Harapan government had promised earlier. In fairness and in honesty to the GOC, it kept to the deadline and delivered an interim report within 100 days, that is by October the 6th. Then there was some fine-tuning to do. The report was presented to HRDF Board of Directors and on 2 occasions for their input. In between, the report was presented to me. I was happy with the whole concept and proposed amendments, including amendments to the PSMB Act 2001. Certain other matters had to be included and ratified to fill some ambiguities in the existing legislation and the proposed legislation. I don't want to go into details. The HRDF Governance Oversight Committee report will be on the website, and as I speak to you, it has been loaded online. I was supposed to present this report on 1st November, but on 2nd November was budget day, and all of us were busy. Then came the Deepavali break. So today I'm here before you all to talk about the report and take your questions. I do not want to venture into word by word of what the report contains. Of immediate concern, I wish to address and elaborate on some key findings of the Governance Oversight Committee. The HRDF is a trustee and entrusted with using the Human Resources Development Fund prudently to create a skilled workforce and to upgrade existing skills. That there has been the basic foundation on which the HRDF was set up. However, along the way, these requirements and objectives took a backseat, and the fund was diverted to activities which were less impactful to the local workforce. It was found that there were some elements of fraud in the use of the fund. As I said, we promised transparency, and I am putting it bluntly to you. I am not hiding anything. There are evidences that some training providers and certain HRDF management personnel misuse the fund in the name of training. In these instances, the HRDF board was only informed after the money was spent. In other instances, the management exceeded the authority and approved projects beyond the authorized limit. So what are we going to do about it? This government has done it the right way and will continue doing it the right way. We will pursue these parties through civil and criminal proceedings. We will leave it to the authorities to do the needful. The survey which the Governance Oversight Committee conducted in July received over 300 responses, mostly from registered employers like you and others. For that, I would like to thank all of you. Your feedback to us was useful and has helped the HRDF board and management to realign the various schemes, training programs, and its expenditure. Mostly, you eliminated on the lack of transparency on the 30% consolidated fund. So, ladies and gentlemen, after deliberation with the Governance Oversight Committee, the HRDF Board of Directors and its management are hereby announced the discontinuation of the 30% consolidated fund levy deduction of registered employers. The discontinuation of this deduction will be made effective from 15th November 2018, and the final payment towards the consolidated fund was for the month of October 2018. In the meantime, investigations on the wrongdoings at HRDF are still going on. But what I can tell you is that among the discoveries were: 1. Large sums of monies were diverted without the authority of the HRDF board for less impactful training programs. Number 2, money running into millions were used to buy property without any authorization from the HRDF board. Number 3, high salary and bonuses were paid to selective management staff without the approval of the HRDF board. Some of this had been previously reported by the media or speculated in the media. I would also like to add that the HRDF Governance Oversight Committee report have revealed that some members of the HRDF Board of Directors did not declare their interest to the board. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, these were on in the past. It has come to an end. With regards to the 30% consolidated fund, you have been under the impression that since it was your contribution, it cannot be used to train non-contributors. Ladies and gentlemen, there is something known as national service, and all of us have to play our part in training a good local workforce. There's also a need to train unemployed graduates, another program of the national agenda. We are working out a scheme with the other government agencies, and they would be trained according to the needs of employers, or what we call industry-driven. So they can be employed upon completion of the training. The government and the Ministry of Human Resources have entrusted the HRDF to assist the skills upgrading of youth and school leavers and improving the marketability of local graduates. This has been done through the allocation of RM 20 million ringgit matching grant for the implementation of the fund's apprenticeship program and the graduate enhancement program for employability, or what is known as Generate. Therefore, with contribution from your end to the fund, HRDF will be able to produce a skilled local workforce. HRDF will also ensure the fund's programs are aligned with that of the 4th Industrial Revolution blueprint and work towards developing skills metrics in line with industry requirements, which would essentially contribute to its mandate to upskill and reskill local employees of registered employers. The HRDF board and its management are fully aware of what needs to be looked into with immediate urgency. I am confident that the present HRDF board, its management and staff will apply some deliberation, collaboration and engagement with all of you. In fact, several key actions have been put in place way before the town hall. They are: number 1, appointment of a new chief executive on 12 July 2017, the resignation of 7 past board members, suspension of several strategic initiatives under the 30% consolidated fund effective 12 June 2018, restructuring of the fund's organization structure and people placement, set up of a strict due diligence process before any outgoing payment is made effective 2nd August 2018, establishment of a board program committee to review existing and new proposed training programs, and finally, revision and enhancement of key governance framework policies. These include the HRDF board, charter and board's terms of reference, limits of authority of the fund's chief executive and management, enterprise risk management framework, internal audit charter, whistleblowing policy, performance evaluation framework for its senior management, and finally policies on fund and grant management.
We are also looking into amending the PSMB Act 2001 to tighten several loopholes in the existing and current Act. This amendment will take time. I have to send it to the Attorney General Chambers for drafting and consultation with various sectors before it is tabled in Parliament. The Human Resource Ministry will continue to support the HRDF in its continuous efforts towards enhancing governance, transparency, and accountability through more regular reporting on its financials and fund and grant allocations and other key measures. The Human Resource Ministry is confident that the HRDF continuous role in supporting our efforts of enhancing technical and vocational education and training, TVET, in Malaysia. I urge all registered employers to utilize your respective levy contribution, not just for the growth of your local employees, but to work alongside the Human Resource Ministry and the HRDF towards the human capital growth in Malaysia. And finally, on behalf of the Ministry and the HRDF, we will harmonize efforts on the implementation of all the funds programs with the industry and its registered employers and training providers, and will uphold our public service to the highest standards of integrity. Thank you.
For your speech. Next, it is with great pleasure that we invite Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Rebecca Star Maria, Chairperson of the Governance Oversight Committee, GOC, to present an executive summary of the HRDF GOC report.
Good morning, Minister and members of the Town Hall. Thank you very much, Minister, for your faith and confidence in the GOC and giving us the the leverage, the ability and the freedom to analyze and to go through the details of the HRDF. I also need to, at this point, thank the members of the committee for their support. It's important that, yes, there was a lot of noise around the issues, but we needed to get to the facts and not be distracted by the noise. So that's why we did the survey. We did a public survey. It was online. We engaged directly with the associations to ask them to provide us feedback. Some folks sent us not just responded to the survey, but they sent us emails explaining their concerns. So those were also taken on board. We looked through documents, minutes of meetings, minutes of AGM meetings, all those documents. We went through a whole lot of documents, and for that I have to thank the HRDF folks for allowing us access to all the documents. We had discussions with the management, with the employees, and we undertook high-level comparisons of similar organizations across the region to see where we were vis-a-vis these organizations, what were the benchmarks, what were the best practices. And we had an interim report. Based on our findings, we did a nota cabinet where we outlined what was done and what we thought were areas of improvement. HRDF, in essence, is something that is important, is necessary for us, for skills development for the country as we move forward, and also to align a lot of the work that we're doing with the Fourth Industrial Revolution blueprint that MITI has drawn up. So essentially, that's what we've done, and the details will be in the report. And we also provided areas where we talked of limits of authority, and where it concerns the HRDF Act itself. We have, with the lawyers, with the Attorney General's office as well, highlighted areas that we thought we needed to make changes to the HRDF Act. And that is with the Minister's Office, with the Ministry of Human Resources. So I'm going to get my colleague Jade, to walk us through some of the details. And we'll be happy to take questions, Minister, if there are later. I'm going to stand with you.
Thank you, Tan Sri. Good morning, everyone. So just continuing on the key areas of observations. From the governance frameworks, just like Minister Kula has also pointed out and Tan Sri Rebecca has pointed out, from the board overall governance and oversight, there were areas that were lacking and that needs improvement, and that led to some of the irregularities that YB Kula has already highlighted. In terms of the clarity of the roles and responsibilities for the board, the different board committees and the senior management, further clarity was also required. From an organization structure perspective, at that time, there were about 11 departments and 8 of them were focused on business support for HRDF rather than the stakeholders. So this is an area that we have also recommended changes. Along with that, the right skills and competencies need to be updated and upgraded. From the monitoring functions as well, the risk management and internal audit, especially internal audit, it was reporting to the former CE rather than the board audit committee, which is the right way of governing an organization. From the governance over the funds, we saw there was the setup of the consolidated fund, yes, and the decisions around that could have been done better. But the segregation of the financials between what was the fund, which is the contribution from the employers, versus the corporation, the clarity of that also needed to be improved. And alongside with that, the controls, policies, and procedures surrounding all of that, especially for fund management and disbursements. The Act, both Minister and Tan Sri has already highlighted, so I won't get into that. So in summary, in the areas of strengthening, key areas to be improved really is to strengthen the segregation and the governance of the financials over the funds and over the corporation. Clear terms of reference between what the ministry is involved in, the board and the board committees, as well as management. We also recommend that accountability, and I think steps have been taken, that accountability needs to be ensured through a more detailed review of the irregularities and non-compliance that were found, and also then refreshing the Act. I won't go to this because I think all the good things that have been done, YB Kula has already brought them up as well. So we are quite happy that there is a cessation of the 30% allocation. I'm sure all of you clapped for that just now. The next area is really the recommendations. And we know and we take note that Mr. Elan and his team have already started doing some of these. One of the key things is the segregation of the financial statements to make sure that there's clarity and good governance and accountability over what is in the fund and what belongs to the corporation, so that what's happened in the past should not happen again. Also, the clarity of what is PSMB's charges for managing the funds. In the past, there was also some admin fees that were approved, but this needs to be made more clear moving forward. In terms of board members, Minister has also announced that these have been done in terms of the establishing of the board charter and the board committee's terms of reference. There's also a recommendation about reviewing the number and function of some of the committees and to review the board remuneration. From the organization structure perspective, to implement a leaner, more customer-centric structure, but understanding from the board and management, this is already in progress as well. Looking at the roles and responsibilities across PSMB and especially strengthening the monitoring functions. We do note that now internal audit already reports to the Board Audit and Risk Management Committee. And moving forward, regular risk reporting to this Barmac committee and to the board will be instituted. From the policies and procedures perspective, Tan Sri Rebecca has brought up the key element of the limits of authority to know what needs to be escalated to the board for decision, what stays at management, what needs to be escalated to the minister even. So the clarity of that needs to be improved. From the processes, that's also a follow-through from the policies and procedures. And when the restructuring has happened, the clarity of the processes needs to be revisited to also ensure that there's no duplication and to make sure the organization is efficient and effective. We also have a recommendation around how the training needs analysis is done. This is slightly beyond governance, but it was important to the GOC to make sure that any sectorial training committees that are continued, there is a clear criteria for the composition so that you have the right members giving the right input, and to make sure that the outcome and deliverables are clear that really supports the growth of the skills for the members. And also to develop a clear framework for the training needs analysis. And we do know some pilot processes are being started at the moment in HRDF. The next slide focuses on something that needs slightly a longer term to implement, and YB Kula has also brought up the process of how this needs to be done. But the GOC has recommended some revisions to improve governance within the Act. One key area is on the board. Reduction of the size of the board, but more importantly to ensure that it has the right composition and skills. We do note that the board members have also been, new board members have been introduced, and this is already in progress. But to reflect this in the Act is also important. To have 3 permanent committees, a board audit and risk management committee is very important, and a board nomination and remuneration committee to really review and assess the performance of the board members and senior management, and to make sure that the remuneration is commensurate with the performance. And also the investment panel. The investment panel also must always report to the board, because especially in the investment panel in HRDF, there are sometimes non-board members because they are subject matter experts in investments. So the reporting to the board is important. A maximum tenure for the board members. Directors to have an annual statutory declaration to ensure that there is no conflict of interest or any other independence issues. A review and revision of the board remuneration, and meeting minutes to be recorded accurately. This is through some of the learning that we noted from the review of past board minutes. From the powers and duties is to really ensure that the board is empowered on selected matters like director nomination and some of the other decisions that need to be brought to the board and should not just stay in management. Clarity of the powers and duties between the minister and ministry, the board as well as management, and also to make sure that ministerial directions, that is also because of what we saw in the past, to be made in writing and to be clear, understood by the board, so that the board also knows what is happening. The other areas is on segregation of accounts. I've already touched on that. And the chief executive, for the board to have some empowerment on the suggestion of the chief executive to the minister. And the board, especially the BNRC, to review and decide on remuneration and benefits. And there's also a suggestion that the chief executive does not need to be a board member, but should be seated at board meetings to represent management. And other matters are really on heavier penalties compared to what's already in the Act for any breaches. Pass it back.
Thanks, Jade. So, in summary, Jade has taken us through the details. So, in summary, what we've put forward to the ministry is the strengthening of the governance to reflect the segregation of the fund. I think that is so important. Right now, it's just one. So we as HRDF is a trustee to those funds, we need to have a separation of the funds, the funds that come in from the members versus the corporation funds. So that I think is already being put in place. the terms of reference, we really need to define the roles of the minister, the ministry, the board of directors, and the chief executive and his team. There was a blurring of this, and so now we've also provided the terms of reference and clarity, and we hope that with the amendments proposed to the Act, this will become a reality, and you will not get those breaches of governance. And also a more active involvement and discussion, more thorough discussion with the board. And we hope that finally the amendments to the Act that we proposed will be put in place. We understand that there is a process that we need to go through to get the Act amended, the consultation process that is required. All the parties are supposed to have a privy to the draft of the amendments, and only when there is agreement or when we can get to some consensus regarding those amendments, can the ministry then take it forward, present it to cabinet, present it to parliament. So that process will take a bit of time, and we hope that hopefully by the first quarter of next year we will see the changes that we are proposing to the Act. The others, I'm happy to say that the HRDF management and the minister has been very supportive of the and agree with our proposals, and they've started to put those in place. So I must congratulate the minister and his team for being open to some of our candid comments and proposals. So on that note, Minister, thank you so much, and thank you, members, for your attention.
Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri, for sharing the executive summary of the HRDF GOC report. We invite you to remain on stage so that we can welcome the Minister of Human Resources, Yang Berhormat Tuan M. Kulasegaran, Deputy Chairman, HRDF Board of Directors, Yang Berbahagia Datuk Kwa Tien Khan, Member, HRDF Board of Directors, Yang Berusaha Mr. J. Rasami Manikam, and HRDF Chief Executive, Yang Berusaha Mr. Elanjelian Venugopal. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us here today. Before we open the floor for questions, a few gentle reminders. Please state your name, your association, or company before directing your question to the relevant spokesperson. You may start the queue on the left and right of the aisles at mics number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, we would also appreciate if you could please focus your questions on today's event. So on that note, can we begin the Q&A? Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is open. Gentleman at mic number 2.
Hello, good morning. Sorry, I have a bit of a sore throat. I'm Zakri from the Malaysian Employers Federation. I just want to make a few comments. Okay. The HRDF should not be involved with organizing conferences or trainings, as the HRDF role is to manage levy collected from contributors. Number 2, all contributors of HRDF be admitted as members of HRDF and entitled to attend and vote at the AGM. Previously, I think the staff made up the quorum. Number 3, contribution made by contributors remain with the individual contributor and should not be used to train other employees. Pool fund concept, I think the pool fund concept has been abolished. And the AGM be allowed to elect certain number of board members of HRDF election to be made every 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zakri, right? From the Malaysian Employers Association. So those are comments, actually. Any questions from the floor? Ladies and gentlemen, if there are no comments on the floor, maybe we go to Slido first. The first posting on Slido states, I believe that the 30% pool fund should be maintained for the benefit of upskilling and reskilling workers. That is another comment that we can take note of. And the first question on Slido right now is, how was the appointment of the current chief executive of PSMB done? No official statement was out. Was it done under proper governance? So I believe this question, Datuk Kwah, would you like to address it? It's okay, I'll repeat the question again. How was the appointment of the current chief executive of PSMB done? No official statement was out, and was it done under proper governance?
Hello. Yeah. Hi. Thank you for coming. I hope the explanation done so far has been quite satisfactory. We are most happy that there's a sizable turnout. Very challenging time. Let me take the first question on the CEO. There were a number of applicants who have asked for the position, and we had to make a quick decision, and we went through some interviews. I myself was involved, as the power is given to the minister to decide, and we shortlisted Ellen Gillian and we chose him. We also had a look at his background and other factors before we decided on that matter. On the second issue, that whether to organize or you should not organize events and all that, there are matters that I think the board can look into it. The third matter is, what is the third matter?
Sorry, there was just appointment of CE actually.
Oh, I'm already jumping the question. Okay.
Sorry, we seem to be getting more comments rather than questions on Slido. So the next comment actually is with regards to the gig economy. It's not actually relevant to our discussion today, but I'll just address it for the benefit of the person who posted the comment. The employment landscape is evolving and more companies are engaging freelance and contract employees. What's in plan from HRDF for this category of employees? I believe we will be addressing this question at a later date. And perhaps we will put it up on our website soon. This is a gig economy. It's a very, very new ecosystem that we're entering into. So moving forward, as the government agency that is supposed to spearhead HR developments, how come the turnover rate of staff is getting higher under the new leadership? Datuk Kwah. Or Mr. Ilan.
I think first thing is many of the staff have been there with the organization for many, many years. So one of the first things that I had to look at was many of them actually wanted to retire. So it was just a timing issue. So first thing we had to deal with was about 19 staff wanted to retire. So we had to time it. And we felt that we needed some of them. So we said we needed you, if you can stay back. And at least 7 of them have retired since, despite us asking them to stay on. And so that's one of the things. And second one, we do have, I think we have identified few shortcomings, exceeding authority. In such cases, we are, I think that's being looked into. Some investigations going on, and we have. Plus, before that, the other thing is we have many of the senior staff, they are on contract. Because when we are reorganizing we were restructuring the organization, the positions didn't exist anymore. Because earlier there were, if not mistaken, 12 divisions and 36 departments. So today, the new organization, we are only having 3 divisions and 12 departments. So that means there are lots of changes that are taking place. So alongside it, I think people are making the decisions. So I think this is a temporary change and will settle down soon.
Can I just add to that? I think the board has asked the management to actually look at the number of employees. That's a very valid question, actually, to see how we can right size, actually. But moving forward, I think people need to understand that there are actually two things that HRDF has not been doing properly, and we intend to do this properly. One is the enforcement of the collection of levy. I think there's a lot of employers who are still not registered and who are not paying the levy, even those who are registered. And I think Alan's team will need to reinforce that. So that it might be an increase in headcount. The other one is the approval process for the programs, the training that people have applied, for grants, and that again may require more people to actually go through and make sure that there's no fraudulent claims or whatever. But for the rest of the organization, I think as what the GOC findings have shown, the company is too inward-looking. We need to be more outward-looking and serve the stakeholders, which the employers in this case.
So the key word that I got from Mr. Elan as well as Datuk Kwah was right-sizing. Okay. Next question. What are HRDF's plans and strategies to support the private universities and colleges in further enhancing our ability to produce talented Malaysian graduates? I believe that is also another question that we have to address at a later event, because that is with regards to the gig economy as well. Okay, next up. With the disbanding of the sectorial training committees, the STCs, how will interests of employers be now addressed? Elan?
Okay, we are not disbanding the sectoral training committees. The sectoral training committees, as I think earlier Tan Sri Rebecca mentioned, it is being reviewed, the composition, the members, and the terms of reference of the sectoral training committees, terms of reference as well as the memberships being reviewed. So we are refreshing the STC. Besides that, that's one is STC that exists as it is now. So we will recreate the STC in a new, with the new terms of reference. Perhaps there will be some changes in the membership. So that is being looked at. That's one. Number two, in addition to STC, we are also creating something called skills matrix, skills framework. So skills framework is the way forward. So while we wait and develop the skills framework, the skills framework, we're looking at what other countries have done successfully. So I think that's the way forward. So before we adopt the skills framework, the STCs will remain. But as we go along, as we get the skills framework, STCs will be replaced by skills framework. So as of now, STCs remain, only that we are reviewing the terms of reference and the members are being changed. So it will be the right persons with the right skills, right knowledge to advise HRDF will be there. The employers will be represented in STCs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elan.
Sorry, can I just add? In the process of looking at the overall governance of HRDF, that was one of the areas that we found to be weak. While they had the STFs, the sectoral training committees, they were not necessarily membered by people, subject matter experts, let's put it that way. So there were questions around how courses were selected, how training providers were selected, and therefore that's the reason we've said that we need to relook those bodies, and in tandem with that, to also come up with a skills matrix, and just to go on with what you've talked about on the universities and all that, I think in the process of looking at the skills matrix, getting subject matter experts, we have also proposed that we align HRDF programs and objectives with the rest of what's going on in the government. For example, the recent launch of the Fourth Industrial Revolution Blueprint, the Fourth Way Forward or something it was called. So that also has to be aligned, and that's exactly what the CEO is trying to do, the alignment, so that we are ahead of the curve when it comes to skills development. Thank you.
Right, we have a question from the floor. Sir, can you state your name, your association, and your company?
Very good morning. I'm Ong Chitat from the SME Association of Malaysia. I'm very concerned just now going through that the SME, especially the micro, 68% of the total registered company, they were actually left out, if you look at, because most of them are B40s. Most of them are individuals who are become an entrepreneur, who have sizes below 5. And even those people who are above 5 and are registered SME as HRDF registration, you find that their contribution amount is so small that they can't even take up a course. So the reason why the 30% pool fund were there is to do the national service of training the, we call it the SMEs. But this has been stopped or taken off. Now, where is the fund? Is there an allocation from the government or ministry to train these SME? We hope that with the last, we have we call a lab where anybody who is below 5, any company below 5 were to have to contribute to HRDF fund. And with a 1-to-1 or 1-to-5 ratio where the HRDF fund or government pool fund to train. And just now I heard that...
Mr. Ong, sorry, you only have one question.
One question?
Yes.
I have asked where the funds were coming in to train the SME who are small, whose contribution is small, who are below 40, which is the most important, and individual employee of a small micro, okay, where the fund is coming from.
Thank you, Mr. Ong.
All right.
Thank you for the question. I take it that your question is on national service and the 30% contribution should have been maintained because it could help those in the B40 and the SMEs. I think the initial idea of the 30% contribution consolidated fund was initially that was the reason, but unfortunately over the time there has been some misuse. But how to address it? I think that is a very core issue that need to be addressed. You cannot run away from that. As I'm talking to you, I think the Ministry of Entrepreneur Development, they have allocation for this kind of matters where it can be used to train and upskilling or retraining on this B40 and below. That's one side of it that as I'm talking to you. But the other aspect of it is we are also charting new plans, asking the government to set aside certain amount of fund to be managed by the HRDF specifically for this B40. These are things on the pipeline now, but it has not taken off in the sense the discussions are going on with other ministries. I have actually been instrumental in it, getting it done with the, I've been talking to HRDF and others as to whether that could be the best platform. Because as asked by you, I think it's a very important thing that the B40 and SMEs are properly equipped and trained and upskilling. I think there's no compromise on that. But unfortunately, like I said, there has been some wrongdoings that has happened. So we have to stop that now. We have to look at other two avenues to address this matter. And I think we will revisit this matter when the financial situation allows us to do that. That is in the back of our mind. Thank you.
Thank you, YB. We have a question at point number 3. The gentleman in red. Sir, can you state your name and your association or company?
Okay, good morning. Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Azlan bin Abdurrahman. I am from a private college, okay, which is called as KTAC. Okay. I just have only one and only question, and I just want to clarify and correct me if I'm wrong. Before this, when we want to apply for any grants or training like that, we have to go through the association, because any payments and so on will go through the association. Is it still on, or can we go individually and apply for the grant? That's the only question. Is it okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's not quite relevant to today's topic, but Steelen, can we address that question probably later? Okay. So, one of my colleagues will take your name. We'll address that question with you directly. So, I have, okay, I'm sorry, I think I have the lady at number 4. Please state your name and your association.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Maria, and I'm from People Potential. Right now, moving forward in training, we have this very stubborn problem on upskilling and remembering after training. How people, as soon as the training is finished, not always it's implemented. We have an application that we want to implement, and of course there is a cost to it. However, in HRDF, there isn't a scheme that would allow this. So under professional fees, you've got material fees, but this is post-training. So we have a range of your classroom training, and then post-program to enhance and to make them remember. We have an application for them to remember what they've learned and to apply. We don't have a scheme at this point, as far as I know. Is there something that is in the plan moving forward, because this is where the generation is going?
That is again another question that should be addressed after the event, because there's quite a lot of configuration that goes into that question. Maybe my colleague can take the lady's name as well as the question. Next up, we have the gentleman at mic number 3. Sorry. Can you please state your name?
Thank you. My name is Somasundram. I represent the Malaysian Trade Union Congress. I'm here representing the Secretary General of MTUC. This is with regards to 30%. In fact, about 5 years ago, I think 4 or 5 years ago, when they introduced the 30%, we had discussions and meetings with HRDF leadership, including the former CEO, your chairman, and also the minister personally. And we said it's a very good move what the government has did now, because it's from them and us. We found that many of the B40s and the support groups are not benefiting from HRDF funds. And the minister admitted it personally, because I was there with my former president. So I think if you are going to remove it, because the act, you are saying no compulsory training. So unless you amend the act to make compulsory training so many hours of training, only then we can benefit. And we were in the meeting in EPU before RMK 11 kicked off. We told the chairman who was chairing the meeting in EPU in PM's office that if you are going to achieve 55% skilled workforce, now compromise to 38%. But we are still having 28. One of the reasons is HRDF Act has to be amended, and the 30% if we can maintain to address these issues, because companies, I don't want to go into details now, many companies are not sending their workers, and my own people who are sitting there were saying, why is the fund gone up to 1.2 billion? Because it wasn't utilized for training. So this is something very serious. Kindly look into it.
Okay,
this
so
is only
sorry,
a comment.
sir.
Kindly look into it.
Can you repeat your actual question?
It's only a comment. I'm telling, kindly retain 30% until and unless you make training compulsory for the B40 by amending the PSMB Act.
Thank
Only
you, sir.
then we can find review.
We have taken note. our colleagues on the left and right of the hall have taken note of your comment. Thank you. Can you please state your name and your association?
My name is Althea M.S. Gore. I'm from a company called Althea Services PLT. I'm a representative from MICCI. On behalf of MICCI, we do agree with MEF. It's in line with the PSMB Act. PSMB Act is supposed to govern our contribution funds, correct? They are not supposed to create in competition of PSMB in competition with training providers by providing conferences training and HR consultancy. Okay. If that is the case, there's a conflict of interest in the PSMB Act already. That's what Inche Zakari of MEF is trying to say. So if you are amending the Act, kindly look into it. Are you in conflict with the market? Then PSMB should have a training provider number as well, the license as well.
Okay, we take note of your comment. Do you have a question?
That is my comment to PSMB when you're looking into corporate governance of PSMB itself. What are they doing? That's what I'm trying to point out. Okay. The issue regarding, second comment is regarding also about PSMB Act. Okay. Formerly, the history was SME is concerned, which Mr. Ong said is true. They have a small amount of contribution, but they cannot afford. Previously, this fund of assistance, financial training assistance, was provided by SME Corp. Now, it's passed over to PSMB. PSMB took over the role of training, but they're using large companies' contribution to pay for the training of a small company contribution. I mean, small companies training. Okay. That's why employers are not feeling, they don't feel fair, because they contribute is for their training of their members, of their employees, not employees of another company, which is what you want to do is with the 30%. So now coming back to the Act, if you put the 30% there, employers are saying, why are we contributing for the training of the whole nation? Including, just now when I heard you want to include also universities. Is that postgraduate or undergraduate? Why is PSMB paying for it, employers paying for it?
Okay, Ms. Althea, your 2 minutes is done. Okay. So we take note of your comments. You had 2 comments. The first would be...
the SME and the in conflict for in the PSMB Act. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Althea. Stephen?
Thank you, Ms.
Althea.
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 Yeah, thank you, Ms. Althea. I think, let me take a few things that you mentioned, that PSMB is currently organizing training, consultancy, HR consultancy, as well as conferences. First thing, in the past, I mean, when I took over, when I came on board as a CEO, there were a number of programs. There were lots of questions about us going into training, but I'm absolutely certain we don't want to compete with other training providers. Absolutely certain, right? We do organize 2 conferences. One is the HRDF conference, which is, there's one conference end of this month. So there's one conference and one training providers conference. Even that, we didn't do that this year. So we may not organize that for next year. So there will be one conference to showcase best practices, to also say where we are, to reach out to the employers. So that's the only thing that we are planning. In terms of training, what we today organize is the Train the Trainers certification, because we feel every trainer who currently conducts the program needs to meet certain minimum standards. So we would like to establish the standard, and we are working with training provider associations. So we are not doing this on our own. Today, we are reviewing the current existing, the TTT, Train the Trainer program, with the view of strengthening it. And so for that purpose, we have already started engaging the training provider associations. as well as the government agency like JPK, the DSD. So we are working with them so that the trainers who go through this program will be recognized and will be accepted widely by the employers. So I think we want to help the employers because they want to say that, you know, once, what is the qualification of this trainer? Does he meet certain minimum standards? So I think as a government, we should be meeting standards, making sure people who conduct training, the training industry also looks forward for a trainer who is meeting certain standards. In terms of consultancy, we are not competing with, you know, any HR consultancy out there. What we are trying to do, and you know, earlier there was earlier government established something called National Human Resource Centre, right, as part of the Pemandu initiative. So this was to assist small companies, small and medium enterprises with their HR needs, to advise them on their HR needs. That also we are revising now. The way we are looking at it is, some of these smaller companies do not know, even though they contribute significant amount, but they are very small, they may not know what training to actually send their trainees to. So that's where we actually assist the companies to select their training programs. It's more of helping them analyze their training needs, and then based on that, select the training providers they need. Because we are not assigning them, okay, you must train this or that person. That must be done by the employers. So we could actually assist. So our job actually, as I see, all our programs is directed towards helping employers utilize the levy so that it doesn't accumulate. There was a question earlier that we are accumulating. Our job today, as I see, is how do we let the money go out? We want to make sure all the training funds, the funds that we have accumulated goes out so that we don't have that much money. We don't need it. The purpose of the fund is to train employees by the employers. And that's our mandate, and we will make sure that mandate is fulfilled. Right? For that, all our activity will be directed towards that. Thank you.
Yeah, can I just take the second point on, I think you mentioned why are employers contributing and then the money is being used for other companies. I think I need to correct that misconception. I was from the corporate sector before I joined HRDF, and I can tell you that we spend more than 1% of our total workforce salary on training. So I think there is a misconception that this is employers' money. We never thought like that when I was in the corporate sector. We always felt that this is money, is a levy imposed by the government. It is the government's money. And the fact that the government allows us to claim for this to subsidize our training, I think is a very good thing. And I always try to get my HR department to make sure that we claim everything back. Because we don't know, next time you may not be allowed to claim up to that amount. You know, but definitely our own training plans, when I was in the corporate sector, doesn't deviate. Whether we have the money, we don't have the money, whether HRDF has enough for us or not. And I think that should be the spirit that Malaysian employers must adopt, that the HRDF was set up to upskill Malaysians. And all Malaysian companies have been asked to contribute 1%, just 1%. And then, therefore, when you claim that 1%, at least we know that the Malaysian employees are being trained. Now, why there is, you were mentioned why there is so much money in the fund, like Alan said, is because a lot of Malaysian companies, even though they register, they are not even claiming that 1%. So a lot of the funds get forfeited. So you can imagine, you have money sitting there that the government is allowing you to claim, and you're not even claiming. So that says a lot about how much you are committed to train your own employees. Now, this thing about training other companies where a lot of Malaysians work and then they cannot afford to contribute, I think is something that the government is addressing, obviously through the HRDF Act. So that is the national agenda. It's not the agenda for employers. Okay.
So I have a question from mic number 2. Sir, can you state your name and also your association?
Can I just reply? Sorry, apologies. Can I just reply to the previous
Mr. Soma, who raised the question of 30%. I thank you for your question. This is one of the factors that is a bit disturbing us as to whether the 30% which was under the consolidated fund, whether it is proper under the law or not. So these are factors being looked into, and whether then need to be a necessary amendment to be done so that we can then set aside certain amount of money for this kind of real purposes that it has intended to. These are issues that we are looking at. Thank you.
Gentleman at mic number 2.
Yep. Thank you very much. My name is Imran. So I was the former director for talent within MDEC. So today, I one comment and one question. So first and foremost, I think thank you very much for the committee headed by Tan Sri Rebecca, who has focused on the governance aspect. I'm appalled to see that being an organization which has been in existence for more than 20 years, the governance has been so weak. Okay? But nevertheless, as we know, as things goes along, things do break, so you need to put in. So good and fair, you have done that part of it. So I hope to see things moving more in the right way, rest assured. Okay? So the other comment, I think Tan Sri mentioned about the STC. So I was the past chair of the STC for digital tech, and I'm still a committee of the STC after I left. But nevertheless, I just want to share, for the digital talent STC, we actually have detailed ICT skills framework, which I'm personally involved. We have the supply-demand study across the industry as a whole. I commissioned 3 studies throughout my 8 years. So I contribute to HRDF in terms of all the good things that you do. So that is already in place. The framework is there. Even the recent digital skills training, also we have come up with the framework. So rest assured, for that particular STC, probably you can use that as a benchmark to refer to the other STC, because we don't have privy to that. So rest assured, I wish to support on those good things that HRDF is doing. Okay? The only thing, the last 6 months, what I see is nothing has been forthcoming, because everything has been silent, probably because of the motion of the governance assessment. Okay, let's leave aside. So I hope things move well. The question I have is, as you also mentioned, Tan Sri, that there was a lot of noise. Then one big noise which surfaced after the HRDF first town hall session was the issue of this 300 million abuse, so-called quote-unquote abuse funding. So it was not shared in detail here. So just for our understanding, was there really an abuse of that 300 million, or is it just merely a noise? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Imran. Kunalan Abdullah.
In the process of our work, we addressed those concerns, and we tried to separate what was something that happened procedurally versus a breach of governance versus irregularities. So our findings were presented to the minister, and HRDF will be looking at it. Our remit was really to look at the governance side of things. So where we saw some breaches, we flagged them, because that's not our role. We just flagged those breaches, and it would be up to the ministry and the AG's department then to take it forward.
Thank you, Tan Sri Rebecca. We have a question on Slido that I'd like to address. Sorry, gentlemen at mic number 3, I'll just address one question from Slido.
Can I have my question, please, instead of Slido? I'm here. Why should Slido be given preference?
Sorry, we've had this question for quite some time. So can you state your name and your association?
Yeah. I'm Dato' Novo Robert from Web City. Firstly, I'm really disappointed by Kwa, who said that the 30% or the 1% that we contribute is government money. I mean, I think that's a foolish comment. You should withdraw that. Show me in the act where it says it's a government money. I think it's your personal opinion, and I don't know about the others, but personally, I'm totally in disagreement. Let it make it very clear to you, and do not repeat it again, please. Secondly, okay, we know at a lot of irregularities were mentioned by the minister, which has happened in the past. And I believe the champion of all these irregularities was the former CEO. And I want to know, as of now, what action has been taken against him. I believe he's still a free-range chicken running around. The amount of damage that was done to our human development, plus those who are already still serving in PSMB. What action have you been taken? Because, like I said, if you want to destroy a nation, or somebody said, not what I said, if you want to destroy a nation, if you want to destroy this country, just downgrade the education system. Just downgrade training.
Okay,
make a fool of training. And that is exactly what PSMB, the past, have done. So please tell me what action, Minister, you have taken against the ex-CEO. Because, number one, there are so many irregularities. You mentioned purchase of building, salaries that were not approved. It's already 5 months you are a minister. I think that should be your utmost priority, to form a task force to specifically take legal action against these people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Robert. Take note.
Thank you.
Dr. Robert.
Yeah, Dato, just on the CEO, the former CEO, the first thing that we got it done over these last 6 months is he resigned. So there is a moving forward event. So it's not that in the last 6 months we didn't do anything. Number two, we were waiting for the Governance Oversight Committee report. And as the report has come, we have now, the management has now lodged police reports for the necessary action to be taken against the wrongdoers. We are not going to leave them. We are going to even go to the extent and sue them both either in civil proceedings or ask the necessary investigation if they are culpable under the law, in criminal law, to charge them in court. We are not going to leave them free. That's for sure. These are the matters that we are doing. You see, these are, some of you know that I am a lawyer, but I look at it, there are very great, strong traces of offenses that has taken place, but I should not express any personal opinion. I feel that the authorities to take this action. That's why I spoke to the CEO and asked him to lodge a police report, which he has done. We are hoping the police will take the necessary action.
Okay, Wabi Menteri. Dr. Kwok, you want me to go to the Slido?
To comment on the...
well, it's a personal opinion. Again, as the moderator, I understand that...
I think that the point is taken, but I'm sorry, I beg to differ, that if you read the act properly, you will find that it doesn't say that it is employers' money. That's all the point I want to make. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kwok. So we'll take a question from Slido. Tuan YB Kula mentioned about apprenticeship and generate. When will the details of the programs be launched? It's already December coming. It's a very interesting question.
This is the one I spoke just now.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, even December is coming. I myself have to get necessary direction from the Finance Ministry. In fact, there's an appointment to meet up with the Finance Ministry officials on Thursday. Apparently, that's how the government works. I didn't know all this. 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, the budget was announced. So thereafter, each ministry will be called for clarification. You'll be told exactly the nitty-gritty of how the funds have been allocated and how it's going to work, the mechanics of it. So I hope after Thursday, something comes out of it. I'm also excited, not only on Generate, I'm also excited on TVET and other monies that have been set aside for under my ministry. So these are matters at this juncture I'm not able to say one way or the other way.
As the moderator, I'm also very interested and excited to look at apprenticeship because that's something that the global world is adopting. So probably Malaysia can lead in ASEAN. Okay. So next up, I think this question has already been brought up by Dr. Robert earlier. Okay, very interesting questions. When will we get our payments for projects done under the RAISE program? I think that's a question that's not necessarily related to today's topic, but my colleagues have taken note. We will publish that very soon in our website. Okay. Next question, any indication on when the segregation of funds between the funds and the corporation will be effective? Vijay Rasami.
We are actually studying that process with our auditors, and how the way forward on this is that we're going to give better disclosure in terms of how the corporation actually performs versus how the fund itself is performing. So it is something that we've already taken on board, and we are in discussion with our external auditors on this.
Okay, I have a question from mic number 1. Please state your name and your corporation.
I'm Evelyn. So I represent my company from Lightcraft. Yes, I have one question. Once we register with the HRDF, actually we have to pay 1% of the basic salary of the employee, right? So I just want to ask, what's the benefit for the employer to pay the 1% to HRDF, and then we send the employee to training and then we claim back? Why don't the employee just send the employee to training? That's it. So what is the benefit?
Mr. Ilan?
No, I think I must answer this first. It's a policy decision. You can sit down. Have you finished your question? Yeah.
Ms. Evelyn, that was the question that you wanted answered, right? Okay.
Obviously, actually, if you go back historically over the years, somehow it has been very desirous of the government, not only in Malaysia and elsewhere around the world, that their workers, employees must be trained. That is the Karen call, the big picture call by the government in power. But somehow over the years, they've noticed that somehow many employers train their employees, but a sizable number of them don't train. And somehow, you'll be surprised, this last 6-7 months I've been in office, the employers will also come and tell us that we don't have time to send the employees to be trained. And if they get trained, they also move out to some other places. Why should I train them? So these are factors to be looked into. But then the government looks at it, why our employees should not be well trained. So then they came up with a device over the time. It's not only in Malaysia, but around the world, that a certain levy should be imposed so that the money can be taken and training can be done. And there must be skilling, upskilling, reskilling, this can be thing to be done. Because this human development part of it is the government agenda. If you notice in the last few months, how much of emphasis the government has been paying on TVETs, because basically, our biggest problem in this country is not so much of training graduates. Graduates there's so many graduates are produced, but many of them don't get jobs. So, but compared to TVETs and those who are trained, they easily can get jobs. So government feels that these things has to be done. So like in Singapore is across the board. It is 0.25% on any, even if you are a 1 employee or 2 employee, you'll end up paying. Now when you pay this money, it is not like the employer pays this money. It is also tax deductible. So that is why some people say when the money, actually the government can collect that as tax and then send the whole money to the HRDF. But they want some form of flexibility and accountability. Both sides. One, they want some form of governance and control so that this organization run it in the interest of the levy collectors in principle, but also asking them to take governance. In the sense like when you pay money, some of us think that I pay, like the arguments, people have come and see me, employers, I want to stop paying levy. I got no reason to pay levy. So I tell them, number one, when you pay levy, it's tax deductible. If you don't pay, the government actually can tax. So there's nothing very great about it. But far more important is our social obligation. We have to train workers. In fact, I've been talking to some of the directors and to find out, and when we talk about training people, how many people at the B40 are trained? Let's be very frank about it. How many janitors or those involved in toilet cleaning and all that are trained? Hardly. There must be upskilling on this. And priority must be given to these people also, because they're part and parcel of our system. So this HRDF Act is basically, that is what it was mooted, it was started, and over the time it has taken shape of this manner. And now the government feels that it can play a bigger role. But unfortunately, it was derailed a bit when there was some misuse or abuse that has happened. But we want to put it right. Things have gone wrong, it doesn't matter, but we have to put it right. We cannot just say something has gone wrong, it cannot be corrected. We will put it right. But far more important is the skilling, upskilling and retraining will go on, and every Malaysian must benefit out of it. Now, as a HRDF stands, it is basically for those levy payers. But what we plan to do, the government plan to expand it to SMEs, to other B40s, to every Malaysian in the country. I'm not too sure whether politicians will be trained or upskilling and all that, but you can be rest assured the workers in this country, generally speaking, have to go through the process. Is for the betterment of them. Thank you.
Thank you, YBM. I look forward to being reskilled and upskilled as well. Any more questions from the floor? If not, I'll take some questions from Slido. Okay, trainers and coaches play a vital role in upskilling Malaysia's workforce, catalyst to our economy. What is HRDF plan to assess and build the quality of trainers? I think I can address this. It has been shared by YBM, it has been shared by Tan Sri Rebecca. Right? We look forward to posting this up on the website, how we will train the trainers, right? And increase the quality of the trainers as well. Yes, kind sir. Your name, your association, thank you.
I'm Dr. Parthiban. I'm a trainer and also training provider. I specialize in supply chain logistics management. Just one question to the CEO. Do we really screen these trainers in the specific fields? When I took the TTT training, I was number 216. Now I was told that 34,000 trainers. I'm not jealous or envious of them. But do these trainers qualify in specific fields of supply chain logistics? Have they gone through the entire manufacturing company or processes to be a trainer? Some, they work just in one department and they become the trainers in supply chain. I'm not jealous of them, but the field, the industry needs skilled people to train the people so that the trainees who come understand what is the meaning of supply chain, understand the whole concept of supply chain. I hope the CEO will look into it deeply. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dato'. I believe that Mr. Ilan has already addressed that question earlier. We're looking at subject matter experts to train the trainers, right?
I will just address it anyway. We are currently, as I earlier mentioned, we are currently re-looking at the Train the Trainers program, right? Earlier, today what it is it's a participation type of a program. Almost everyone who goes through the 5-day program gets a certificate. And then at the end of it, they are certified for life. So I think, both the training community as well as HRDF, our team responsible for this, feel that there's a problem here. And then we are currently in discussion. Mr. Sofian, my colleague, is actually leading the effort. We are currently in discussion with, among others, MatPro, I think, as well as JPK, to develop a new scheme that is more specific, and we are actually certifying people based on their knowledge as well as skills. So first one is first level, which should be, which you could look at curriculum development, delivery of training, as well as monitoring and evaluating the trainees that they conduct. So this is one part of it. And the other is, how do we now specialize? How do you allow trainers to specialize in different industries? So for that, we are also looking at people who are already working in that field. For example, employers have trainers within the organization. People within the organization who are very skilled, who have knowledge, but may not have the certification, for example. So I think HRDF should be looking at that as well, so that employers, the trainers who are currently in service in companies can also become trainers, because they know the subject matter, but they may not have, maybe they may lack the training knowledge. So maybe there's some kind of a top-up skill needs to be looked at. So this is something that we are actively looking at, and I hope by middle of next year we'll have something, a framework, and we'll roll out a new program. I would strongly encourage you to contact our team responsible for this, which is Mr. Sofian, as I said, is leading the effort, as well as your training provider associations. I think the number of training provider associations are there. So please, we need your input as well. And I think we can have a good program that can be comparable to anywhere in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ilan. The floor can only take one last question from Slido before we adjourn for press conference. So there are 4 questions. I'll just address it again. Question number 2, YB Minister, a question in most employers' mind, engagement of foreign workers. I think this is not the right platform for us to talk about that. Number 3, how does HRDF want to contribute to skilling TVET? I think that's again for another platform for us to address. And HRC was talked about earlier, and we will address that as well as another platform. And the last question, why are payments for services rendered for HRDF under the new management been a bit bad and very late? Okay. I think that's also part of what we're looking at right now. So, Tan Sri, Mr. Ilan? Mr. Ilan, late payment.
I think, so is this regarding some of the training programs? Or?
If I'm not mistaken, it's a very generic question.
Yeah, the first thing is we went through, as you said earlier, there were some abuses that we have noted, which GOC has highlighted that there have been some abuses, some cases where we have exceeded the authority. The management in the past has exceeded the authority and approved certain things. So when such situation is, we note this, so we have to go back to the board and get them to endorse it. So when we are doing that, we have to check lots of things because the board expects us to really brief them and they want to be comfortable what they're approving is actually meets the necessary minimum governance requirement. So that requires us to do a lot more checks, which is unfortunate, but our goal, I think, if you look at our client charter, we are committed to making payments as soon as possible. So even though we are going through a little bit of a rough patch right now, I'm confident by December we will settle everything. And I've told my team that next year we are going to be a different organization. We cannot be giving any more excuses, delays. So I think you have to bear with us for a while, a little longer. We are going through all the payments because some of these approvals were done before, and we have to go through whether they have been done properly, whether the communications have been right, whether the activities that were supposedly carried out were in fact carried out. So we have to check all that, and that's taking a bit of time.
Definitely. You must be very, very thorough.
Thank you.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, yang berbahagia Datuk-Datuk, Datin-Datin, Tuan-Tuan, Puan-Puan, ladies.
Can I just interrupt? Yeah.
Right,
Thank you. I always feel town hall sessions should be very more interactive. Now, I think after this we're going to finish. We're going to have press conference.
Yes.
Those who are here, you want to meet the minister to discuss anything in relation to my ministry, or you want to ask any questions, except my any question personal, I'm also willing to answer. Anything you please stay on. Not now. You can meet me outside and have discussion one-to-one. I will I'll hear you out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, again for your kind and productive participation in the HRDF Town Hall with employer associations and HRDF's registered employers. We certainly look forward to collating and tabulating all the feedbacks, thoughts, comments, and that we have heard over the last hour. So once that process is complete, HRDF will be posting up the collated data and findings on its website for all to appraise and share their thoughts. So we now adjourn the town hall session. We thank you again for your participation. Respected members of the media, we would like to invite you to join us for a press conference session upstairs with Yang Berhormat Tuan M. Kulasegaran, Minister of Human Resources. And for the rest of our VIPs, all of you in fact, we have some light refreshments that have been made available behind. Please stay on as YBM has shared, he would like to mingle with you after the press conference. We'd like to invite Yang Berhormat Tuan M. Kulasegaran, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Rebecca Fatimah Astamaria, Yang Berhormat Datuk Haji Mahfuz bin Haji Omar, Yang berbahagia Datuk Amir bin Omar, Yang berbahagia Datuk Kuah, Yang berusaha Mr. J. Rasami Manikam, and Yang berusaha Mr. Elanjelian Venugopal. Maybe we proceed to the press conference. Thank you. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. You've been a kind audience.